Good afternoon. This is Ken at Tortoise Capital. We're at the October boot camp. We're going to take a look at a subset of the swing symbols of interest that we're working with this weekend. See what happened today and take a look at some of the trading plan ideas we talked about yesterday from yesterday's video. So Alcoa, we were short at the red dot and we needed a strategy to exit. This would have been a logical place to exit on a 1, 2, 3, and in the middle of the river you have a the RL10 has turned. We're still in the winter, but with a good close and a big move in the market today, that seems like a good place to get it done. And we had a stop at 1975 anyway, so taking the exit anywhere here around 19.30 feels pretty good. So that's the end of that one. We'll think about that as a trade frame for later, but we're just cleaning up the battlefield right now. We had an initial position in Caterpillar here on the 1, 2, 3 entry that closed well, so we kept the piece, and it was just, oh joy, rapture. Our second entry was hit right after the open, so we've actually got 2 pieces on that one, and it closed well. I would not be offended if you had followed this all the way up and then took one or both of those positions off right here as it approached the 200-day moving average and collapsed. That would have been a natural play. If you had done that as a swing trade and even turboed it with today, that would have looked something like this. You probably would have made your money early in the day in here, probably cashed somewhere in here. You might have played an owl reversal here or a sideways quiet channel breakout here and had a second bite at the apple. But if you took any exit around this red line here, then you get this exit. This red line exit here, you would have bought somewhere around, I'm going to say 126, 126 and exited around almost 128. And you could live with that intraday pretty easily. This is one where even if I take this exit off right here, if I'm still holding the initial swing, I think I'm going to have my stop on the initial position somewhere at today's low minus a nickel. That's where I would raise my stop on the initial swing position and take today as a turbo. But that's a good news story. That's a good problem to have. Cliffs Natural Resources, we were long one from yesterday. This is an orderly position. I would move my stop to no lose plus dinner for 2, just right there on the swing trade, and then just see what goes on. I'm looking for this to get up at least to the hump of the dragon or even the Z1. It got through the Bollinger Band mean. This is a mean reversion trade in this case, which was justified by you had a RL10 across the baby dragon. It reversed here higher. This low is higher than that low, and the dragon has already started to roll up. This is really an owl entry yesterday and certainly an owl entry today. Cliffs Natural Resources is a frog champion, so it makes it a good intraday trade as well. And this is Cliff. You can see that if you use a standard hybrid frog technique, let's try that rascal. Any standard hybrid frog with that gets you an entry intraday somewhere around in here, and somewhere in here you get an exit that makes some money intraday. So that would be the use of core and turbo on Cliffs Natural Resources. And then I'm just holding the regular swing on this one. I like that position. I put the stop on the swing trade right here and looking to see $8.10, and then really top of the dragon. The RL270 is fair value, and then the hump of the 10 on this side is the upside. So 870 is the most optimistic upside. That's beyond Z2. So this has room for another $1.50 to go on 740, which is that's a 25% move to this line here. So there's room to work. It just PSAR flipped today too, so that's the beginning of a swing trending move. And the last two times that PSAR was in effect for, that looks like about 15 days. This was about 12 days. So CLF is a symbol. It's a basic materials that once it swings, it swings. And the size of the daily bars makes it a good frog candidate intraday. So this is why it's a frog champion and a swing champion, because it is very directional with strong signal to noise ratios, intraday as well as swing. That makes it an all-purpose, all-season symbol. Cut, on the other hand, oh joy, rapture. So we had two positions in on this one. One was the initial swing on a 1, 2, 3 entry in the middle of the dragon, and then it was a turbo position that we added when it cleared the dragon. So we got two swing positions on, paid for by markets money on Thursday's move, and then a big gap up, and all it did was just take off, and it hit the hump of the dragon and closed well. This is one where just before the close, you got to decide how much of that do I just want to go ahead and keep and lock in, or do I want to just let it run because it's above the hump of the dragon? Assuming that I just kept it all on, I want to lock in 2 gains by just putting it probably just below Z minus 1. That would be a protection against a reversion to the mean trade, but gives it room to run. And so hopefully over the long weekend, because this market doesn't open again until Tuesday, everybody's going to say, yeah, this thing, it just got to the 200-day moving average. So now we can start buying it because the bull market has just begun. So now you can see that a move up to 27 is not out of line. And that's on initial positions around 25.50 and 25.80 on pretty marginal risk. So it can move. Like the last time it did this, when we bought the RLXD over here, we got 3 positions in and it went all the way to 27. So this thing can go from 25 to 27 in a swing. So it could go from 25.5 to 27.5 on a swing. And then the next previous high is going to be up. That's the next hump of the dragon, is probably right about there. And then probably here and here. It has to get above 27.5 to really be free and clear. Then this whole choppy going from hump to belly is all done. But what I like is that the RL270, which had been sloping down, that's the long-term fair value, has now become positive slope. And the river, which was sloping down, has now begun to slope up. This is just beginning that long, winding road. And it just cleared this hump. That looks very favorable, and that is connected. Cut is timber ETF. It's hard to trade intraday. It doesn't have a lot of intraday volume, but it swings very nicely. So if this can get above 27.50, then that means that must be home builders must be buying lumber to build houses, and that's a nice alternative to a market that is fully valued. So Cut has a very nice swing trade going on. That's the reason I would want to keep the double scoop that are both in the money with a wide cushion, but lock in some reasonable move in case it fails. So I like moving that stop to the red line and being where it is. And it's early. It's a monthly in the spring. You see the green dot over here. That's good. All good. Diamonds. I asked you to decide what to do. This was probably an intraday trade, and I wouldn't hold it overnight. That could have been an intraday normal move in the Dow. Devon Energy was spring in the monthly and winter in the on the daily. We were short from 24, and you could make a decision here. Say, maybe I just want to cash that after a 1 and a 2. If you took the exit today and cashed the swing trade and were flat over the weekend, I would not be offended. If you kept a quarter of it just in case it collapsed, I wouldn't be offended. If you kept the whole thing and just moved your stop down from here and locked in like above maybe Z1, Z minus 1, and put your stop there, I wouldn't be offended. I would be sad if you had watched it go from 29 to 24 and weren't short. I'm sad that I didn't get short on the collapsing pocket right here. I'm glad I at least got short when the RL270 was tested and collapsed. I'm offended that I didn't get a second position in here where I just put my stop, but what are you going to do? Can't get them all. EFA, big gains. I like the belly of the dragon, a higher belly, and a big gap up, and it closed well, and it's at the hump of the dragon. This could be the resurgence of Europe. If we're going to get long on this thing again on a swing trade, not later than 66 and a quarter. So now on Monday, we've got some wiggle room on that thing to go. If we didn't get any of that today, I'd be ready to get long on this thing, not later than the blue line. So if it opens well, and the S&P is also doing well, that's not a bad play. But I like the low and the higher low, but it has to get through this considerable resistance here. It was mostly in the summer and fall through this whole move, and it's recovered well after that initial shock sell-off. It's done nothing but look good. That's part of the whole market doing well. And this times of political instability, maybe it's time for the U.S. to suffer in time for Europe to resume its leadership because of that clown we have in the White House and the China trade war and going to war with Iran. Maybe Europe is a safe haven for money that wants mature, I can make a case for that. So that's one to certainly put into the rotation. In honor of Ting in Australia, we have EWA. The dragon just turned, closed well, a PSAR flip. I'm ready to buy this one on a resumption, anything above 22 and a quarter. And the RL270, add a second position above that, add a third position above the hump of the 10, fourth position above the hump of the dragon here. Would I be willing to get short on this thing? Yes, because it's in the winter time. I would get short on a break of that PSAR, this last PSAR dot right there, that's where I'll get short. So that's the bracket that I'm giving it. But I'm ready to trade that one in either direction. EWA is strongly connected to resources and materials and is relatively low correlated to the US market, so that's a nice alternative. And it swings very nicely, as you can see. Makes big moves, and now we've bracketed this ready to make a big move in either direction. It gave back a lot of today's goodness, though. That's why there's some downside. It could be a one-day flash in the pan. So if it started failing on Tuesday, you wouldn't be surprised, and your target would be the belly of the dragon, and then the 200-day moving average, and then the belly of the 10, and then the bottom of the PSAR. So that's the price ladder all the way down to the 200, where it was just 3 weeks ago. Of course it can, and look how fast it can fail that far. So this is like a perfect state, ready to break in either direction. That's a critical state. Mexico, love it. This is an intraday frog champion and a swing champion. It cleared the hump of the dragon decisively. I'll be swing trading this on the basis of a frog intraday trade that then grows into a swing trade on Tuesday. But I'm also ready to short that back. So Mexico always starts off for me as an intraday trade and then add to the swing. But I could see it failing. I could see it continuing pretty easily from that move. Brazil is probably going to be the same. It was a much bigger mover today. That's a decisive move in Brazil. Let's look at that one more closely. So it had a unambiguous move. There was an owl entry right around here. Didn't really follow through. You could have gotten short here. You might have made some money inside here or scratched, but now it reversed and made a higher low in the belly of the dragon. The dragon has started to turn. The 90 has started to turn. So if there's, and it's right at the 200 and fair value is the 270 and the upside target is at least at 46. So that's a $4 move from here to 46. So I'm willing to trade this one on a swing trade instantly on Tuesday. If it breaks out above 42.75, I am long. And I will add a position if it breaks through RL270. I really like this one. for long term. This has been lagging Mexico compared to the and lagging the S&P. So this could be Brazil starting to make that turnaround. And as an alternative to the U.S., that's pretty good. Home Depot. We're already long one. It closed above the RL10 and the hump of the dragon. Free and clear. Should have added a second position today. I will add a second position on Tuesday. If it just keeps going, I'm going to move my stop up to here, though, just in case. Just in case. I love it, but, you know, I'm not going to get short this one because this is the strongest symbol in the Dow. Speaking of weakness, the Russell 2000 just made a decisive move. This is one, it had a long move up, but then a big move back. That was tactical trading intraday with the Russell 2000 traders. That's going to be in play on Tuesday. Started as a day trade only. Keep a piece overnight if it closes well in your direction. Simple. Real estate is a defensive play. It got smashed today. This is a move back into equities. There were 3 days in a row where the market voted up, and they're holding it over a long weekend. That's very favorable. This is going to take a run at the upside. The alternative is, though, that if the equities fail, I'm willing to get long on a PSAR flip at about 94.90, and then I would use as a stop the belly of the dragon. So that's good. And then if the equity markets are good and this is failing, then I'm short at the second blue line, and I'm going to target all the way down to the Z3 line, or at least the belly of the 10. That's my first target. Then my second target downside would be the initial PSAR flip. So if this fails out of that yellow box that I'm about to draw, that's what the downside looks like. The upside is easy to believe in, and once it clears that, there's no resistance overhead. This is how strong that thing has been as a defensive play while the markets were suffering. There's been a 3-day bump on the upside in equities, but while previous to that they were suffering, and that's what real estate did. So that's a nice alternative play. That should always be on your radar screen. Simon Property Group is a commercial real estate guy, and so while IWR real estate has been great, commercial real estate has suffered, and it pays a good dividend. We were short 2. We had a stop in at this red line, so we would have covered the shorts at the open, and now you have, this could be an unambiguous move to the downside. The RL10 has not yet crossed, so this is not a dragon, this is not a emerging dragon, this is not a owl yet. This is just a covered the short on a 2-scoop short, and I would, I'm going to let this one simmer for a while. I think I could make this an intraday play. I want you to see how well this thing trades intraday for you tactical traders out there. Look at that. Oh, hybrid frog and a move from you'd have been justified getting in around 148 even. And it trades all the way to 151 and some change. So that's a 3% move intraday without hardly looking back. And now you have the excursion away from fair value and move a reversion to the mean trade from 155 and some change, 151 and some change, all the way back to 149. So that's a $2 reversal. SPG, and it pays a dividend for a swing. Are you kidding me? Perfect. So that will be in play on Tuesday, starting off as a hybrid frog with about a 50-cent risk box. Just play it whichever way it goes. And if it starts being a good swing long, so be it. If it starts collapsing, you just saw a $12 fail. If this thing fails below yesterday or below today's open, like if it blows below 147.5, it's auto short, and it's going to be a big long swing to the downside. Sweet. S&P. We're going to update the daily chart here first. So this is all I do for that daily health check. So today's range was from here, stayed pretty much, oh, here it was, from here. Look how strong that move was. Went all the way to the 10-day high. Now I got to march the 10-day range over and increase it a little bit. Now the 10-day high was the daily high. Nice. So all these other ones can come off the board. all those reasons to buy it are now done. Now this blue line was the Monday opening, and so it closed the week decisively above. That is a very favorable sign to the upside. So that's the hump of the dragon, that's the hump of the 10, and then above that is an all-time high. So if it goes beyond there, you know what to do. Buy it and hold your nose. The short side trades, though, I'm going to start building those in. That's the auto short. If today's low collapses, the belly of the dragon, the belly of the 10, the 10-day low. This is the belly of the dragon here. This is the 30-day low. That's the 10-day low. The 30-day high is up here.